Vincent van Gogh is now one of the most famous artists in history. His paintings sell for astronomical prices, and his name is synonymous with pure genius. But during his lifetime, he was almost invisible. He sold only one painting. He lived in poverty, and he died believing he had completely failed. How does someone go from being ignored and marginalized to becoming a pillar of modern art? This video is not just about madness or a cut ear. It's about the real cost of genius, loneliness, rejection, and the pain behind art that changed history forever. Vincent van Gogh was born on March 30th, 1853, in the Netherlands, into a religious middle-class family. But his birth carried an invisible weight. 1 year earlier, his parents had lost a son, also named Vincent. As a child, Vincent grew up visiting a grave that bore his own name. Many historians believe this early experience shaped his melancholic nature and deep emotional insecurity. His mother, who loved drawing in nature, introduced him to art. His father, a Protestant pastor, was strict and emotionally distant. From an early age, Vincent was sensitive, introspective, and profoundly lonely. At 16, he began working at an art gallery through his uncle. He traveled across Europe, learned languages, and lived surrounded by masterpieces, yet nothing felt right. In London, he experienced what may have been his happiest period, until romantic rejection shattered him emotionally. From that point on, his decline began. He was fired for criticizing the art market, tried to become a teacher, a bookseller, and a preacher, and failed at all of them. Vincent didn't fit into any system. His hunger for meaning always pushed him too far. Obsessed with helping the poor, Van Gogh became a preacher in a mining region. He lived like the workers, sleeping on the floor, giving away his clothes, barely eating. But even the church rejected him. His radical interpretation of Christianity was seen as dangerous and unstable. This is where Vincent truly hits bottom. No job, no purpose, no belonging. And yet, from this emptiness, a crucial idea emerges: to transform human suffering into art. At 27, Van Gogh made a radical decision. He would dedicate himself entirely to painting. It was a late start and a difficult one. He copied other artists, especially Millet, and painted peasants, laborers, and harsh rural scenes. His first major work, The Potato Eaters, is dark, raw, and honest. It doesn't seek beauty, it seeks truth. During this time, his brother Theo became his only real support. Without Theo, Van Gogh's name might have been lost forever. In 1886, Vincent moved to Paris. There, he discovered Impressionism, bold color, and entirely new ways of seeing the world. His palette brightened. His style became more intense and expressive, but so did his inner turmoil. He lived poorly, ate little, drank excessively, and clashed constantly with other artists. Japanese art became an obsession. Simple lines, flat colors, direct emotion. All of it fused into a style unlike anything seen before. Seeking peace, clarity, and light, Vincent moved to the south of France, to the town of Arles. In his mind, this was not an escape, it was a rebirth. The sun was stronger. The colors were more intense. And for the first time, Vincent felt close to the artistic future he had imagined. Here, he painted the famous sunflowers, not as decorative flowers, but as symbols of friendship, hope, and artistic brotherhood. He dreamed of creating a shared studio, a place where artists could live and work together, free from judgment and isolation. This dream took form when Paul Gauguin arrived. At first, Vincent was hopeful. He admired Gauguin deeply and believed this partnership would finally give his life meaning and stability. But reality was very different. The two artists clashed constantly, not only in personality, but in worldview. Gauguin was controlled, intellectual, and dominant. Vincent was emotional, impulsive, and painfully sincere. Their arguments grew louder. The atmosphere in the yellow house became unbearable. Art, which was supposed to save Vincent, now intensified his inner chaos. One night, after a particularly violent confrontation, the tension reached its breaking point. The infamous ear incident occurred. Whether Vincent cut it himself, or whether another version is true, is secondary. What truly matters is what this moment represents: the complete collapse of a man who poured everything into art, only to be consumed by it. From this point on, creation and suffering became inseparable. After the collapse in Arles, Vincent voluntarily admitted himself to a psychiatric asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. For many, this would mark the end of creativity. For Vincent, it became a strange and painful rebirth. Locked inside his own mind, isolated from the world, he found himself surrounded by silence, fear, and uncertainty. His episodes came without warning: hallucinations, anxiety, and moments where reality slipped away. Yet, between these storms, something extraordinary happened. From the barred window of his room, Vincent began to observe the world with an intensity few ever have. Olive trees twisting like flames, cypress trees reaching toward the sky, stars that seemed alive, moving, breathing. Painting became his only anchor. The asylum did not cure him, but it gave him structure, routine, and most importantly, time. During this period, Vincent produced some of the most powerful works in the history of art. He painted not what he saw, but what he felt. It was here that the Starry Night was born. Today, it is considered one of the greatest masterpieces ever created. But Vincent himself saw it as a failure, too unreal, too exaggerated, too far from nature. This is the tragedy at the core of his genius. The world finally understood him, but he never understood his own greatness. Creating from the abyss, Vincent proved that even in complete darkness, the human spirit can still reach for the light. After leaving the asylum, Vincent moved to Auvers-sur-Oise, a quiet village near Paris, to be closer to his brother Theo. On the surface, it seemed like a new beginning. In reality, it was a fragile truce with life. Vincent painted obsessively, almost one painting every day, as if he were racing against something invisible. The landscapes became wider, more open, but also heavier. Endless fields, restless skies, paths that led nowhere. Those close to him noticed the contradiction. He was producing extraordinary work, yet sinking deeper inside himself. Vincent felt like a burden to his brother, to the world, to art itself. Despite small signs of recognition, he believed he had failed, financially, socially, and as a human being. The letters to Theo grew darker, filled with exhaustion and quiet despair. There was no dramatic goodbye, no grand gesture. In July of 1890, Vincent walked into the fields with a revolver. He shot himself in the chest. He did not die immediately. For 2 long days, he lay in bed, wounded, while Theo stayed by his side. According to witnesses, Vincent remained calm. His final words were simple and devastating: "The sadness will last forever." They were not the words of a madman. They were the words of someone who had felt too deeply for too long. Vincent van Gogh died at 37 years old, believing his life and his art had meant nothing. The world was about to prove him wrong. Vincent van Gogh died believing he had failed. He thought his paintings were worthless. He thought his suffering had no meaning. He thought the world had no place for him. Today, his work defines modern art. His paintings hang in the world's most important museums. They sell for tens of millions. They are studied, admired, and loved by millions of people who never knew his name while he was alive. That is the cruel irony of his story. Van Gogh did not change art because he wanted fame. He changed it because he painted honestly, with pain, compassion, and unbearable intensity. He painted what others were afraid to feel. His life forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. How many voices are ignored because they don't fit the system? How much talent is lost before it's ever recognized? And how many people are suffering silently right now? Van Gogh's story is not just about art. It's about sensitivity in a world that rewards hardness, about depth in a world that prefers speed, about meaning in a world obsessed with results. If this video helped you see Van Gogh beyond the myth, beyond the ear, the madness, and the cliches, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that explore the hidden side of art and history. Because understanding art is another way of understanding ourselves.